Yod Hei Vav Hei. Now, whether you say it like that or you say Yod Hei Vod Hei, Vod and Vav is the same word. It's an abbreviation for kavod, and kavod simply means in Aramaic the supreme weight of holiness. So Yod Hei Vod Hei, Yod Hei Vav Hei, same thing. Okay, so before I get that, I want to get yesterday's angel. So yesterday, as I was waking up, kind of in that twilight period, right, I hear an angel right beside me saying, "Do you remember our time in the dome world?" Meaning the angel's dome. And I said, "Yes, of course I do. And thank you for taking me back a couple of times to be fed the manna and to sit in that water that angels require for some little R&R time. And making my shoes wet to prove that I had a real angelic angel dome experience in a human form." Anyway, the angel said, "You realize that your soul's not human?" I said, "Of course it's not human. I know. I've already reached Brad status, and I live as an angel in our dome world. And I go to other dome worlds to teach the gospel so that other creatures can obtain the highest light that they are created to obtain." So then the angel says, "Yes, I'm outside your window right now fighting dragons." And I said, "Well, I can't walk outside." And the angel said, "I know, but you can step onto your deck." So you can see my deck's right there. Right there's my deck. So I stepped outside and filmed Angel fighting dragons. So I'll show you this video. Where do I hit play? Here we go. It's pretty incredible. I've got one angelic encounter along with several dragons going on here. That's a still shot of the angel. That's a still shot of the angel. There's a cube below the angel. There's another still shot of the angel up top in the white, and look at the black cube at the bottom. There's the angel again. Okay, so let's play the video, and we'll just kind of slow this down. So let me blow it up a little bit so you can see. Fast forward through that. That's me walking to get a better view of the angel. Back up to the dragon activity. So check this out. Blow that down a little bit so we can get the angel in the clip. Now you'll see the dragon come in below the angel right there. Take a look at this wild dragon activity. You see that? Right underneath the angel. He does a quick, there's a dragon way up front. And then he does a quick kind of 180 there. And then there's another dragon up top. So we basically got angels out chasing dragons. See the dragon underneath the angel? See how fast that was? There's another one. That's a dimensional because he just appears and then disappears. SedonaUFO.com. Look at all that activity going on. Michael's angels are out fighting the dragons. Now, as usual, let's lower that. As usual, I'm going to turn the sound off now. Okay, so as usual, I had a couple of course corrections on this video. So first, before I explain that, you can see the number 2617. You guys know what that means. I go to the concordance for Holy Spirit approval on content of today's video. 2617, loving kindness, mercy, steadfast love, goodness, kindness, faithfulness. So when I asked the Holy Spirit for Holy Spirit approval on what finally ended up becoming today's content, let me tell you about how I got to that point. So I had a sister ask me to do a full meaning of Yod Hei Vav Hei. And I made several attempts to summarize the 22 letters, which is 22 numbers, which is 22 codes of light. And each time I couldn't even get to the letter 5, which is hey, and I would get a course correction by Holy Spirit. And after about, I don't know, 2 to maybe 3 days of getting a course correction and trying to each time reduce the 300 pages, of each, that is my knowledge currently, of each of the codes of light, Holy Spirit's like, no, listen, just, we have to crawl before we walk. I need you to do the 22 codes of light as if it is your very first day learning to crawl. So that's what I mean by Holy Spirit approval, with the mercy, the kindness, the steadfast love, is I finally narrowed it down the best way I could, the simplest version of explaining God's language and how your soul came into existence and the journey of your soul. So here it goes. And I feel good about delivering it this way because, as you saw for yourself, the 2617 was all I needed. Okay. There's 3 tiers of letters. So whether I call it code of light or a letter or a number, it's all the same. It's first a letter. The letter has a value, that is to say a number, and they are each a different code of light. It's the full expression that your soul goes through here in this dome world, not everywhere else, here on earth. In this dome we call earth. The first tier of the codes are 3 letters, and those 3 letters are considered or called the mother letters. So the mother letters are the letter A, Aleph, the letter M, Mem, the baptizing waters, and 2 letters together that make up Shin, which is SH. So a letter sometime is called a gateway. And in this instance, SH is considered 1 letter, but it's 2 letters that's simply called a gateway. Okay, so the letter A, Aleph, means air, which is unity, wisdom, before we divide into the Maya illusion of cause and effect. So it is quite literally the first sound that our source creator, Father of Light, made, the letter A. So that is also known as Aleph. So we look at the code of lights, the 22 Hebrew letters, Aramaic letters, and we call that the tree of life. So the first, again, in the tiers of letters, is the mother letters. The mother letters I just mentioned, AM, and the combination of SH. That's the mother letters. Now there's a second tier of letters have a different meaning. So we call that double letters, and that's also the double letters are called a gateway. And then lastly, we have the last tier, which is the 12 simple letters. Okay, so A, the letter M, the combination SH, that is called the Trinity of vibrations. The 3, Aleph, carry the power of God, meaning that you have direct divine access to God. So in other words, how many Alephs you have in your name, how many A's you have in your name, carry your power, you Betsy, your power of having direct divine access to Source Creator. So in my name, Anita K. Owens, I have a Ta. That's code light 22. My name starts with an A, ends with an A. My middle name is K, K-A-Y. So I have 3 Alephs. So direct knowledge, direct knowing. So the letter A, Aleph, means air, but it also means your crown chakra, being open, alive and aware, and it means achievement. Your ability to achieve and finalize. Okay. The letter M is Mem. That is value is 13. And it means water. And through the baptizing waters of Mem, we gain wisdom on a soul level. And then finally, the last of the mother letters, the SH, that value is 21. And that means the flame or fire of intelligence of the mind, to go beyond being a base mind person, a base man. So gateway, the double letters of a gateway, they take precedence over the 12 simple letters. That means they mean something different. They basically mean the karmic cycle. And I'm going to explain all that. So as a soul, you first experience as a soul, okay? Before you come to the density, that is to say the third dimension of Earth, before you ever get here, you have the beauty and the freedom to be just a soul without a spirit. Just a soul to first experience higher dimensions, 4th, 5th, and above. But mainly 4th and 5th. Because if you go much above that, you're going to, as a soul, have a very hard time in the 3rd dimension. So as a soul, we just intuitively know, don't go above the 5th dimension. It's going to make life on Earth really difficult. Okay. So as a now individuated or a individual consciousness, your soul for the first time, once this has been mastered, that is to say, navigating the higher dimensions in a fluid movement, you begin then to be able to incarnate into a human body, into the 3rd dimension. That's called an initiation. So as a soul, what happens when you come into a physical body, that physical body is contained in a bubble, that is to say a dome with waters below and waters above. You travel to the dome through these waters. And as a soul, when you did that, that is Mem, that is baptizing waters. So as a soul, you were baptized in the waters above. Are you staying with me here? I'm really working on first day of crawling through the codes here. And please, if you have a question, feel free to call me. SedonaUFO.com. My phone number is right there. I'm happy to talk with anybody on this at any time for as long as you want. Okay, as a soul, you've gone through the waters of Mem. The water gives you, as a soul, ego. And ego is known in Bible terms as the spirit. That is to say, the personality. Now, ego also is an acronym for edging God out. So you want to make sure there's a balance with not edging God out, but still allowing your personality to expand and express itself. Why? Well, because you need to know and master Earth's emotional, energetic plane. In the density of 3D in a human body, you need to know and to master really what it's all about is the emotional body. That's what you're here to learn and master. And control is the emotional body, or the Earth's emotional plane. Humans have very dense emotions, especially when you're here for the first time, engaging. This is the first time as a soul you're going to come face to face with negative context. As a soul, you've never known negativity. You did not know fear. You knew nothing but pure light, pure consciousness. And here, you're going to encounter for the very first time negativity, fear, evil, darkness. Now, that is created for each individual soul by your soul contract. That's what I do. I do readings now over the phone on your soul contract. Why? So you can stop expressing negative karma and be released from the third dimensional plane, or trapped on the death birth cycle. So once the soul awakes, it then begins to connect again to spirit, which is by fire. This is where the soul of Solomon begins to work consciously with ego. And in the beginning, it's very intense, full of emotional density. Okay, so let me pull up, and with that quick explanation, let me start with the 22 codes of light. So the Yod Hei Vav Hei is, again, 22 codes of light. To know them all quite simply is to understand the Trinity. I call the tree of life. The Trinity of the codes is, number one, the three mother letters. Number two, knowing the gateway of the what's known as double letters, even though they're not all double letters. That's just what it's called in this science. And then to understand the, that is to say, as the consciousness of God continued to expand from the mother letters, right? First it was the mother letters. The mother letters gave birth to the 7 double letters, the 7 gateways, which hold the polarity of duality on the earth plane of the karmic cause and effect. The 7 double letters relate to the 7 measures of directions. The gateways are really important to know when they appear in a soul contract, karmically, or in your goals. Those aspects of your soul contract are very important to know this info in order to get off of the reincarnation cycle. You can only get off of the reincarnation cycle because you must transmute this energy. All of which, once you read the Bible, through Aramaic and through the lens of astrotheology, you will see everything that I'm telling you about here. Different language, same message. The Bible's super simple if you take away religious narrative, the legends and the folklore and all. You take away the narratives, and you and the living word become one. You become extremely intimate with the living word. There's no other way around that. So today, I'm doing my best to simplify it, because for the everyday person that doesn't have the time, and I understand that, to be in the living word, let me just break it down to you. The double letters, also known as gateways, are known as Beth, Gimel, Daled, Kof, Pei, Resh, Ta. Okay, so this is to say they are very strong, very unique karmic patterns, very different from each other. A negative, it's a pattern that's going to give you a negative experience. Why? So you can transmute and integrate once this is done. You then are given access to your spiritual gifts of service. All gifts are in service to others, to the world, to the earth, to nature, but all spiritual gifts is in service. And you have a unique spiritual gift to your soul. So once you understand what you must transmute so that you have full access to your spiritual gifts that has been put in place, in other words, the negativity, the negative experience is put in place for you to defeat. There is a key to all 22 letters, again, codes of light. It's all about being open and receptive to how your soul wants to hand you the keys to unlock your karma, to unlock and know what your goals are, spiritually speaking, to open those aspects to realize your soul destiny and life purpose. The ego is our inner darkness, wanting to tell us that that's not possible. That this negative expression, negative emotion, toxic intellect or emotional, that you do not have the power and the wherewithal to overcome it. First things first, always ignore that programming. That is an ego programming that we take from the karmic cycle. That is now what I am saying is the bigger picture. Okay, if you look up the word darkness in the concordance, there's 142 verses in the Bible on the word darkness. That's a lot. That's 7. You guys all know what 7 means in the Bible, right? Source, creator, father of light. Okay, that darkness is quite simply ego, edging God out. Now, the religious narrative of us being a fallen species, that narrative itself is the outer darkness. We're not a falling species. That serves a religious mammon. That's all that serves. The outer darkness with the wailing and gnashing of teeth, told to us 3 times by Jesus, Matthew 8:12, Matthew 22:13, Matthew 25:30. It's the opposite of knowing and understanding the language of God, how he made our souls, and our souls continually going straight back, that is to say, emerging back to God. In all of our karmic patterns, there is a gift that will emerge. So let's start now with the first of the double letters, the gateways. Beth. Beth is the value of 2. So what that means, what Beth means, is to go from being a base man, that is to say a fool or foolish, to wisdom. That is to say, to recognize and stop being impulsive, foolish, making decisions based on pure emotions, making decisions on a knee-jerk reaction based on past decisions. Once you see the repeated pattern, you stop and you say, how can I achieve a positive outcome the next time this repeats? And yes, Betsy, it's going to repeat absolutely. It's a spiritual law written into the codes of light. I can't say that any more clear or simpler. It is a law. Each code of light has laws to them. You start to understand the laws, and you've got the game of life licked. All right, you figure this stuff out. And I'm doing this in this most simple language that I'm hoping any 5-year, maybe not 5, but let's go with 10, can understand what I'm saying here. Okay. This is how wisdom begins. And the word wisdom is told to us in 222 verses in the Bible. Again, Beth has the value of 2. Do you think that's a coincidence? Once you have developed enough wisdom from your life experiences, the gift is that you're now given the gift of teaching this. This very thing that I just said, Beth. You become a teacher, more like a psychologist or a therapist, to stop people from making decisions on pure emotion, whether they be foolish emotion, knee-jerk emotions, judgmental, emotional, from the past. Allowing your past to repeat and repeat and repeat, staying in toxicity. You know what? I better attend to the fire here before I forget. Let's see what I can do about that. Okay. We'll see if it's going. I can't get it to move. This new remote that I have with this new TV, I hope you guys never have to buy a new smart TV. It's about the only thing that I'm not aligned with in this cave. But I need my little fireplace, don't I? Maybe I don't. Maybe I just stop using this fireplace thing. Anyway, the third value is Gimel. So Gimel, again, is the value of 3. And anytime a letter comes up and you add a 0 to it, it just means the feminine and masculine aspect of that letter or code of light. Okay, so Gimel, this is about, karmically speaking, poverty to wealth. It's about it's not about money. It's about transmuting the feeling of being deeply unworthy to be loved by God. But you feel unfit to be loved by God or to be loved by others, your parents, your family, your friends. You don't feel like you're good enough, which brings on lessons in the opposite, lessons of abundance. Once you transmute the layers of unworthy in yourself, low self-esteem, that's called emotional poverty in your inner reality. The soul simply wants to experience the migration, right? The migration from unworthy to feeling great sense of self-worth. A great sense of self-worth brings about physical abundance in every aspect of your life. Pretty simple, right? That's the spiritual gift. Whatever abundance you need in your life, bam, it's there. You just have to feel your own sense of worth. That is to say, God within. All of this is about God within. Your divine spark within. That's all this is about. That's the end, right? That's the end receipt. And it's about what does the ego create to throw you into outer darkness, gnashing, wailing and gnashing of teeth. Next is Dalet. Dalet value is 4, and it means barren to fruitful. So you will know them by their fruit. That's what Dalet means. Barren, void, bad fruit, to fruitful, good fruit. You will know them by their fruit. That's what that all means. All of the talk about fruit and the vine and the trees and the bushes, read Matthew 12:33 if you're unfamiliar. Here, the soul is experiencing moving to a place of no trust whatsoever to total trust, to be one in the flow with God, connected to life abundance, leaving your insecurity in life and trust, leaving that space and instead start swimming in the waters, that is to say the flow of life, circular, to share that flow with others unconditionally. Your soul wants to move to a place of complete faith, that the universe, regardless of its setbacks, wants to support you in every detail and in all of your actions. The more you trust, the more will flow to you. Next gateway is Kof. That has a value of 11. Karmic pattern here is coming from death to life. It is the most extreme karmic pattern. Not the heaviest, not the most intense, but the most extreme. Death to life. You'll understand the difference when I get down to other letters, what I'm talking about here. So, out of all of the double letters, gateways, you're here to value life and will manifest. You know you're working this because it manifests easily. It manifests as near-death experience of losing close family, friends, caretakers, caregivers early on in life. Or you early on in life experiencing miscarriages or abortions. Or that is to say, a loss of a close relationship due to impulsive actions. Through the experience of loss, the soul needs a rapid transformation of consciousness, which triggers you to question and review your fundamental values about life. Is life to be a death of who you perceive yourself to be, and rather transmute, migrate into a higher conscious awareness of yourself? Now comes Pei. The gateway, also known as double letters, Pei, has a value of 17. This karmic pattern is slavery to dominion. Your soul will come in as if enslaved, whether it's to someone, family members, what have you, who seem more powerful than you, or early in life, if it not oppressive parents or teachers or coaches, early in life you begin to look for your own guru. You want to become a disciple of what you perceive as a master or a guru. That is you giving away your power to a guru, to a master. And no, that doesn't include Jesus. For all of life's answers, for most people it's a psychic or a medium or a fortune teller or whatever, divination. That's why you don't go to divination. I don't care what name they put behind their divining tool or their divining rod. That is stay enslaved instead of dominion. Every code of light has access to the divine. It's just a different way. You have to understand what the different ways are. So you never look outside of yourself for any of life's answers. That is what gives you authority and dominion over your soul. If you get divinations, that is being enslaved, and that is giving up your spiritual authority and dominion on your very own soul. Dare I say, and you're not going to like it, Betsy, putting yourself in a frame, putting a picture of yourself in a frame, or your loved ones in a frame, is the same thing as slavery. You've given away dominion and spiritual authority on that soul. Do not make your pictures into idols, a framed picture. All right, so here in Pei 17, your soul is here to break away from family, from oppression, to take back your power and dominion. Remember when Jesus said, look, if you love your brother, sister, mom and dad, children, husband and wife, then you are an enemy of mine. You remember that? That's Pei. That's what he was saying. Because a relationship with Jesus is a relationship within yourself. And if you think someone outside of you is more important, then you are denying your soul. Are we seeing the bigger picture? You're instead living by your ego, and the ego has created a slave identity and can be hard to let go of. And many stay stuck in this multiple lifetimes with that, also with group souls. So it just repeats itself over and over. The same group of souls coming in that refuse to learn. And now you alter positions with each other. You're either the master or the slave. Either way, it's emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually toxic. And who knows how many souls are in that group that you're in this cycle with. Could be 1,000. Could be anyone you've ever seen or listened to at any time in your life. Are we further along in our crawl? Are we finding our balance on all fours? Resh. Resh is the number 20, value 20. That means war to peace. It's an intense, internal, emotional, spiritual conflict which arises from absorbing other people's truth. It lies especially, or I should say truth or lies, because like the religious narrative, in other words, that's all a lie. It has nothing to do with the Bible. It hates the Bible, actually. But we get this first and foremost from our parents. Mom and Dad, stop saying Santa Claus is coming and the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. Right? This is making war, taking peace on your baby's soul and making war with it. Stop. It's not cute. Don't abbreviate your baby's name and do not give it a nickname. This is all in Resh. Everything that I know is because the Codes of Light has taught me how to read the Bible for what it actually says. And I'm simplifying the Bible right here and now for you. If you want to know the Bible in an hour, it's this video. That's the best way I can say it. The Bible has 100 to 200 stories in order to convey one message, but there's not a single thing in the Bible, astrotheology on God's Maseroth, that's not found in the Codes of Light. And that's why Holy Spirit said, look, you can eventually go from a crawl to a walk and a walk to a run. But right now, I'm giving it to you in the quickest way I can do it. All right, so Resh is about past life traumas. More, it's about generational trauma on your bloodline, generational curses on your bloodline, having huge emotional extremes. You're at war with yourself. The only solution is to walk away from people who are emotionally toxic with extreme mania behavior and decide to make peace with yourself. You have that choice to make. Either to not engage in conflict with self or others and walk away. You walk right out of the Resh. The last is Tau, T-A. That's my code of light, number 22. That means ugliness to beauty. The soul is asking, what is beauty really? Is it on the surface or is it in the inside, unseen realm? Because if it's on the outside, this will manifest in extreme things that makes the plastic surgery industry a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. It's a form of self-denial and rejection of your very soul's identity. Okay, now we have 12 of the simple letters. You ready? The simple letters. Okay, so the double letters we just went over. The double letters give birth to the simple letters. That's the third tier of the numbers in the tree of life. These letters are about freeing yourself from its negative expression so that the soul's gifts will present themselves to release you from your limitations. So the 12 simple letters continually expand in consciousness within the collective humanity. They are, I'm just going to name them, and then I'll explain them one by one. They are Hei, value of 5, Vav, value of 6, Zion, 7, K, 19, Zion, 7 Zion is the letter K. Kof is the letter 19. Chet is the letter 8. Pei is the letter 9. Not the letter. I'm sorry, the value of 9, the letter of T. I, value 10, is a Yod. The letter L, value 12, is lamed. None, which is the letter N, value of 14. The Samek is the letter S, value of 15. The AN is the letter Y, value 16. And the letters together, TZ, is the value 18, and the word Zadi. So let's go through the 12 simple letters. Hei, 5. So Hei, value 5. In the positive. Pioneer, courageous, assertive, freedom. You express best as a creative channel with your energy, especially with nature and nature spirits. You're firm in your beliefs and always put your best foot forward. In the negative, if you see this about yourself, this is what you're here to transmute. So from now on, I'm just going to say in the negative. That just means once you transmute that negative expression, you receive all your spiritual gifts and you reach your spiritual goals and your soul life or your soul destiny life purpose. Okay? So when I say negative, this is what you need to overcome. So in the Hei, number 5, selfish, impulsive, impatient, reckless, jumping in without thinking, taking too big of risk, like being a daredevil, being ungrounded. Once that's transmuted, your talents is to utilize highly spiritual, godlike energies. You're open to God naturally, intuitively, very creative. You're a visionary. You're an innovator, an excellent teacher, and also an excellent writer when your soul opens once the transmutation takes place. The transmutation, is that a word, transmutation? You know what I'm saying. Next is Vav. Now Vav is a value of 6. Now Vav is found in V, O, U, and W, all the same. Positive Vav. You're practical, you're strong-willed. The Vav is the open hand, excellent healers. It's source energy flowing through your open hand, like direct healing from source. In the negative, it creates being stubborn, rigid, inability to use your will, that is to say your thoughts, to achieve what you want, and it blocks your creativity. It can create abnormal desires to achieve power. If not, you feel isolated, not able to focus, and addictions become very strong in your life, whatever they are. Is it the addictions of, that's the pattern, is addictions. Epstein files, anyone? Once that's transmuted, the talent and the goal is to take a spark, to take the divine spark within and turn it into a reality. Turn it into an idea that is physically manifested in the material world. You make a really excellent business person, whatever the business, because you become focused. You decide and you go for it. You have an excellent eye in the visual arts. You're an excellent communicator. Your goal is to become focused and creative at all times. Zion is the value of 7. I'm not going to get into master numbers here, but I'm just going to take a moment and say there's a whole thing about master numbers. There's a whole thing about numbers of the codes of light and what it means in your name. That's a walking stage, so I'm not going to go to the walking stage. But let me just say, Zion and the number 7, this is a master number. It's going to take some time for us to go back through this once we start walking, right? We got to give it at least, 4 or 8 Sabbaths before we do that. Okay. Zion, it means you have great power here to be a guide to others, to never control them, to be a catalyst and a facilitator. You have a versatile intellect and logic. If you're in the negative and what you have to transmute, be a manipulating and controlling. Once that's transmuted, your talents are you're a link that unites and serve as an activation of major change in people. You're here to finalize life on earth. Why? Because you see both sides of every situation equally. Not good or bad, just yin and yang. Right? Just the light and the dark of it. The masculine and the feminine. The energy is called the energy of Solomon. He's a counselor and a judge. In balance. You are a great networker and a great team leader of your network. Your goal is to work from an open heart and take action as a heart-centered leader. Chet. This is value of A. This is a tough one. It seems like I've only done, have I even done a chart that doesn't have Chet in it? I don't think I have. I can tell you the 20-year-olds to the 30-year-olds, they've got a lot of Chet energy going. Well, really, not just 30, but really 20 to 35. Chet shows up everywhere. It's surprising to me how much Chet shows up. And it's really hard when you have Chet in your chart and you don't have any lefts, no A's, or no mother numbers, A or M or an SH. Man, Chet will have its way with you. You need to understand Chet. I'm gonna go on a limb right now and say with where today's consciousness and collective hive mind is, if you can't figure the Chet out, sorry, more karmic cycle for you. In the positive, you're the most powerful of all of the earth vibrations. Chet binds you to nature, creating sensitivity, imagination, paternal, and protective. You're the very essence of Mother Earth, but man can get out of balance. When it gets out of balance, you become emotionally, spiritually, intellectually clingy. You need to be needed. You're over emotional. You can't see red flags. You can't see repeated patterns. And the addiction cycle just is on and on and on and on. Well, it's one addiction after another. You get rid of the alcohol, you go to drugs. You get rid of the drugs, you go to, a clergy person. You get rid of the clergy person. You see where I'm going with this. You're not figuring it out on your own. You're not finding the power of the divine spark within. You are reliant on all outside stimulation, resources, and people. That's not the way to go. That's not going to get you where you need to be. You get rid of that, you transmute that, what comes naturally? You are clairvoyant in every which way. Telepathy is immediate. You want your telepathy back. You want your clairvoyance, and even all of your clairs, clairaudient, clairsentient. It's naturally your gift. You are here to work with the earth, natural, nature spirits. You're here to talk to trees and animals. You're here to heal them, to work with them in harmony and balance. But also, what trips you up, if you do not get into your body emotionally, physically, and spiritually grounded, the earth plane is going to trap you. And you're going to feel being trapped. And that entrapment can make you feel very isolated. I mean, you quite literally, you become the cat lady. I mean that in a sense, that you relate better to animals over humans. There's no human solitude. There's no human comfort. Unlike me, I'm very comfortable being alone for 6 years in this cave. I don't need any animals. I don't need any humans. I don't need any relationships. I don't need family. I don't need subscribers. I don't need mammon. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? You're the opposite of what it's like to be a comfortable hermit. Again, transmuting this, your talents, you're a high frequency soul in the earth plane, very high frequency. You align naturally with this plane. This existence is home when it's in balance, when it's good, when it's healthy. Okay, you're coming into this reality is very heavy. It takes constant work to be here. But you tune into every situation. When you transmute the negative, you tune into every situation and you know the truth of it. But you have to be grounded on all levels. Once you know the truth, you are the highest level that can happen for humans on earth plane as a spiritual teacher. No one is better than you as a spiritual teacher. But man, do you need to transmute some stuff. You gotta go into the refiner. You need to be refined. But man, is it going to be worth it. I don't know how to tell you, Chets, how powerful you are. And you're the ones that feel the worst out of all the codes. You've got the most difficult life. You've been in jail. You've been addicted. You've got strikes on your license. Whatever it is. You're paying high premium insurance. You're seeing my point, right? Next is the value of 9, and that is pay. Code of light, pay. That's the dragon. And I mean that in a good way. Right? Dragons can be, light or dark. This is the white dragon, okay? This is the light of the dragon. It's power, it's pure power. It's great power of creativity, of generosity, of being organized, of being a warm, just a warm, like heaven on earth person to sit next to. You are just a place of clarity. Pei is the unconditional ultimate mother. A really wonderful mom. That's probably what you came here. Probably your only goal is to be a mom. If it goes in the negative, and it always has a negative because you wouldn't be here if it didn't. You come here as a volunteer. I volunteered to come here to give you this information. I don't know, is anybody else out there giving you this information? But it's what I volunteered to come here for you. In the negative, this great power, that dragon becomes the black dragon of vanity, pride, and drama. Epstein files, anyone? Once you get rid of the vanity, pride, and drama, that we see in our world leaders, your talent becomes a clear voice because you are hearing directly from the divine, the Father of Light, God's source creator. You are directly hearing from him. You're always protected and you know it. You will be okay no matter what this dome throws at you. Now, let me tell you something else about this. It's a very powerful energy. 9 is that intense, heavy, difficult, hard energy to carry as a human. 9 is up there. High frequency. Now, if you have 4 9s in your chart or in your name, you're going to, that is going to, being in the human body will be so difficult. And being able to accept your spiritual powers, instead you will misuse your powers that you received from at least childhood trauma, let alone generational, not trusting your clear channel from Source Aleph. But again, transmuted your talents is, you become unstoppable. You can do anything. You're God in the flesh. You are stable and a peacemaker to your core. You guys are excellent healers. But again, strong energies of 9 is very hard on the body. Very hard on the body. I would be a good example of that. Yod, 10. Beautiful combination. It's the Aleph with half of his feminine aspect. Yod is a huge manifester of spirit on earth, right? A huge manifester of what spirit can do on the earth plane. Jesus, Yod, Jesus. Always in the flow with God and forever on the move. You can be very analytical, meticulous, and very discerning. Now, you got to transmute the negative, of course. There's always negative to transmute. And if you don't transmute it, you become very critical, you become a perfectionist, and overly mental, just overthinking, overanalyzing, just to the point of being incapable of doing anything. Again, transmuted your qualities, you become very connected to Source, balanced, and the male, you're both half masculine, half feminine. In everything, in your talents, you're in balance with your energy, strong. You have a strong vocal expression. You're a natural healer. You're a natural inventor. You're a natural artist. You're here solely to be in service to others in your entire life. Your only goal in life is to be in service in every which way you can be every single day. To achieve conscious mastery of self in this life, and to activate your intuition directly from Source Aleph. Especially if you've got a 2 in your chart, that kind of consciousness showing up in your chart also, that's living in harmony with nature, spirits, nature, self-sustaining community, to teach the Beth, that is to say the 2 consciousness, to live as indigenous way of life, as our natives did when they first came to this land we call America. Next value of 12 is lamed. Sorry, I got to get a drink of water. Lamed is about expansion and expression. You gain more knowledge to teach others, coming together in balance. In the negative, it's being unbalanced, indecisive, sitting on a fence. So the karmic pattern here is a balance between the physical and the spiritual. Once you find that, your talent is to expand knowledge base. You have a great thirst to continually to learn new things every day. Right? All day you become a bookworm, like me in my little cave. Always reading. Now, for me, it's the living word, but for you, it could be topics on everything. Now, I read the living word and topics on everything the Holy Spirit tells me to read on, based on a Bible verse. So I encourage you to go that direction, but however you want to do it. The point is, you're an ultimate mom to everyone. And the goal is to continually expand that energy, keeping it in balance, mind, body, and soul. It's hard. It's hard to do. I have to remind myself I got to do something for my physical body. I'm in the spiritual realm, crown, basically 6th and 7th chakra all day long. I open up the 5th chakra, once or twice a week I do a video. But I have to remind myself, you're still trapped in a physical body and you better get up and walk a little bit. you better figure out how to get through a grocery store and get some food. That's something I go days on end without thinking that way. That's what I mean by physical and spiritual balance. I have to remind myself. I have to set an alarm, so to speak. Next one is value 13. That's the man. That's the mother letter. Right? Remember that, right? Mother letter M, baptizing waters of wisdom. It means your sensitive, creative female expression of God, tuned to all of nature, all of creation. In the negative, what you need to transmute, being self-destructive, escapism, refusal to face what really motivates you. Once transmitted, wisdom is your true desire and goal by diving deep into your emotions so the hidden is revealed. Some call that the dark night of the soul. Once you get through the dark night of the soul, your talents is you embody total love. You're an excellent teacher, leader, counselor, and ministers because you're full of unconditional love of direct divine feminine. Now you can be a male and still be flowing energy of the divine feminine. So let's not confuse that. The value 14, the letter none. Oh, I'm sorry. The code of light is none. The letter is N. All right, this is intense, passionate, persistent, discerning mysteries and secrecy. That is to know the occult, to know the hidden. The occult here is not a bad word. It means the hidden. Okay. In the negative that you need to transmute, you become too intense. Your intensity is negative intensity. The quality, once it's transmuted, you know how to override others or situations of strong intensity around you. Once you're grounded in the moment. Your talents is you're very psychic and you need to use it and share it with others only for discernment purposes, not a psychic reading. Okay, for discernment. You're very open-minded and easily adapt to new situations. You're willing to listen to new theories, new philosophies, and discover who you are. And what you do, you share it with others, like I'm doing with you right now. 15, the value 15, the letters S and X. S, X. Samek. Okay, Samek means you're optimistic, versatile, freedom, restless aspirations. In the negative, you must transmute or you will become very blunt, very oppressive. So once that is transmuted, you know where God is in your life and you connect to Him. So your talent, spiritual gifts here, is your very high frequency that you have able to live with God on the inside and on the outside. You're on a gentle, unlike Pei, unlike Yod, you're on a gentle spiritual journey, unlike the heaviness, again, of Yod and Pei. You will allow God to naturally flow through you and out of you, and it's easy for you to find your purpose in life. You know what? I've never done a reading for a Samek. A whole lot of Chets and Yods and Pei, but not a lot. I've yet to talk to a Samek person. The soul that's on a Samek timeline, this lifetime is Samek for them. They haven't reached out to me yet. And I don't expect they will. They'll get there. They'll get there on their own. So I'm not needed. I don't need to go where I'm not needed. The next letter is Y, value 16, A-N. A-N, A-Y-E-N. You're prudent, reliable, ambitious, and determined. In the negative, you must transmute, being stingy, full of anger, lack of ambition, lack of adventure. You're heavily involved in your negative emotions. Karma is hard to accept. That is to say, the karmic pattern is it's hard for you to accept love from anyone, your family, your mate, your sip, whatever, anyone. You cannot accept love. Once that's transmuted, your talents, you came here to teach people about specifically karma. Not just to be in service to others, but really teach and come across as an actual real human, not a guru, not a master, not a high spiritual counselor, but a down-to-earth human. Sit with me on a park bench. Remember, what was his name? Forrest Gump? Sit with me on a park bench and let's just talk. Let's talk about life. I'll tell you my experience and you tell me yours. A.N. Forrest Gump. Easy to remember, right? Okay, this pay is a different spelling. It's the letters P.F., the value 17. The spelling is P.E.H., which the other pay, which is the 9, that's just P.E. Okay, if pay is in your chart, you are very successful in teaching. You're very successful in business or as a researcher. You have a thirst for knowledge, and you use your intellect, your intelligence, very creatively, very uniquely, very different. You have very clear verbal expression. You have clear discrimination, and you always seek to serve higher ideas, higher ideologies. What you must transmute is taking basically your intelligence and your intellect and abusing it. Using your intelligence to abuse, that is to control and manipulate others. Right? Or to have your intelligence become very opinionated, like fact-checking. This is the karma, again, of slavery to dominion. Slavery to dominion. Taking back your spiritual authority. We already talked about that, so I'm not going to repeat it, all right? But once you do, right, your talents, your spiritual gifts, you're on a path to work with God, as in all of your expressions, talking, writing. You're all about universal brotherhood. We are all connected. We are all one. And you are a direct mouthpiece for God. Next are the letters T and Z. The value is 18. Zadi. Zadi means, again, it's a master number. And it's all about finality and solution-oriented at all times. All your lifetimes have come together, being asked now for you to make a decision. Will you follow now only spirit to be a humanitarian? How do they say that word? Philanthropist? You use your intellect, whether you're a highly intellectual mathematician or you're an eccentric, either way. If that's the transmutation that has to be made, if you find yourself to be stubborn, emotionally detached, or ungrounded. So the takeaway here is do not sacrifice yourself. Do not judge your past actions. Do not ask out others for what you should do to learn, to finish projects. Do never accept indecision. Once all of that's transmuted, because again, this is a master number, so it's a lot to transmute. But as a soul, you can do it. As a soul, you've mastered the ability to do this. You got to remember. You got to remember. You're just little. We went through the river of forgetfulness. This will ring true to your soul on your soul's level. Once you stop being indecisive, stop looking to others for answers, then your talent and goals is always seeking new challenges of which you can complete. Start to finish. You have a futuristic mind. You're an international person who loves to travel overseas with purpose, that your mission is to be in service to others in foreign countries and overseas. Right? You're mission oriented. And you choose to always follow your spirit. Your spirit is always guiding you correctly. Cough is the letter 19. The value 19, the letters K and Q. Okay, you're compassionate, intuitive, receptive. Negative to transmute, flaky, inconsistent, too sensitive. You need to learn to laugh at the world. You have used your spiritual gifts wrongly in past lives. Once you understand that, transmute it, your talents is that you are here to listen and understand the goals, the ideas of others, and help them to achieve their goals, their ideas, to manifest their vision into material reality. You're here to hold space for others so that others can come and grow spiritually. And you're going to use your sense of humor. You're very funny. And you put people at ease, making you the perfect healing facilitator in group energies, especially any group energies that have to do with the Chet, the addiction pattern. That you want a cough counselor. If you got Chet going on, you go find cough. You find someone that their talents and their goals and their spiritual abilities, that you want to find cough. That's who's going to counsel you quick. You're going to get out of that Chet or that peyote tough spiritual journey. Are we seeing how Yod Hei Vav Hei it takes a village? Are we seeing the village? Because I've only got a couple letters left, 3. I only got 3 letters left. But we're getting a good idea how the village supports and lives sustainably in harmony with all of God's creation, right? Let's wrap up the last 3. Resh, value 20, letter R. You're the law enforcer. You're literally. You're the military. You're the father figure. You're practical, constructive, reliable, disciplined, organized. You're the military that we need. You're keeping things in order. You're keeping conflict at bay. So, now, what you need to transmute, if you find this about yourself, the negative expression is you're rigid, you're cold, and you're defensive. Why? Well, because your karma lesson here is about war to peace, right? War to peace. Once you transmute that, you get into a creative flow of energy. You're highly inquisitive, always searching, and you're restless physically and spiritually. You are a spiritual explorer. Physically and spiritually, you're an explorer. You never need to retire, right? You're teachable. You're easily teachable. You're easy to work with in therapeutic situations. You need to be movement in the flow with divine energy, circular, staying on the move at all times. All right, the last 2, Shin, SH, mother letter, value 21. Mother letter, energy of the Trinity, intelligence. You're full of duration and strength to outlast, overcome, and grow. Independent with respect for freedom. In the negative, to transmute. Willfulness, impatient, constant need for action, and extreme rebellion. That's the protesters on the street. Shin is the very flame of knowledge, found in just 2 verses. There's many, but Proverbs 2 verse 6 Psalm 119, verse 105. That is Shen, the flame of knowledge, the fire of knowledge. You're very balanced, your energy, your talents. Once you overcome the heaviness of the spiritual energy you came through, the fire, war to peace, then you possess greater inner strength you have chosen in this life to serve God. One way or another, and you will. You will overcome all and every single challenge thrown your way, every single hardship. Shin burns right through that. You want, team law, or, after Rush, you get these three. If you get these three energies in your life, Rush, Shin, and then lastly Ta. Ta is what I am. I came here to give you Ta. Ta, neat Ta, T-A. That is the value 22. The 22nd code of light is about completion, total final completion of the cycle. It's about expansion into becoming the philosopher and the benefactor. It's about faith, unconditional faith, and reliance on that faith, and reliance on higher power, openness to grace, complete receiver and giver of Holy Spirit. In the negative, it's lazy, and they scatter their energy. Now, you might think I'm lazy because I'm stuck in this cave. I'm choosing to be stuck in this cave. So yes, no, I haven't moved in 6 years. That's by choice and by design. I stay in the living word. That is not scattering my energies. Talents. This is your last incarnation, and you volunteered to come here to begin with. I didn't need to come here. I've already transmuted out of being human. My soul's no longer human. I live as the angels do. I got my crown. I became the bride. So I don't have to come back here ever as a human, but I volunteer as a bride who live among the angels to come here for you humans, because I care about humans with an emphasis on the babies. The adults, I've already lost the adults. They don't like my narrative. My narrative is unpleasant. My narrative is outside of the hive mind. And the adults have been hive-minded. Sorry. You can choose for that pattern to stop, by the way. That's a karmic pattern. All right. Your talent, Ta, 22. You're here for God. You're now complete in your spiritual travels on earth. You're able to access your multidimensional self of who you truly are. You're here to be in total service to Source. You have all you need inside. Just remember it and get out of Holy Spirit way. You're a total blending of mind, body, and soul, reconnected to Source. Well done, bride. It is finished. As Jesus said in John 19:30. Now, I just want you to recognize the beauty of the codes of light here. John 19:30. 19 is a 10, Yod, and 30 is the Trinity, Gimel. Once you read the living word with this kind of knowledge, of this awareness, you're looking at Bible verses and you're doing the math and you're turning a Bible verse into a Yod and a Gimel. You understand the masculine feminine aspect of Yod. You understand the Gimel, 30, the masculine feminine aspect of Gimel. And I can't get any more right now. Remember, we're just learning to crawl. All right, but once you read the Bible that way, John 19:30 is a whole different ballgame. That's a 300-page book. But that's the living word. It comes alive. No religious narrative could ever create what you just learned in less than 1 hour and 20 minutes. Anita K. Owens, Potter out.